Huh. What's this? Wait. This Kalos? Oh my god, we're getting a Legends game in Kalos? ZA? This is so cool! And they're bringing back Megas? Oh my god, 2025? That's a pretty long time away. I'm sure we're gonna get some news about this. Like, surely. 5 months later.
This is a load of barnacles.
I heard that!
So with it being about 5 months of complete silence on Game Freak's end, I decided to make this video, right? Because Pokemon ZA has so many possibilities. So I challenged myself today to discuss my thoughts on what potentially these games could be like. What Pokemon are in it? What roles may they play? What's the story? I just want to spark some ideas within you, the viewer. But anyways, if I may...
Go for it, man!
First things first, where does this game take place? That sounds like a stupid question for those who are in the know, but for those who are not in the know, aka people who haven't played X or Y, Kalos is based on France. Specifically, Lumiose City is explicitly based on Paris, with Lumiose Tower being the Eiffel Tower. Now, on the Legends ZA website, it specifically states that our adventure will take place in Lumiose City, not stating Kalos in general, but just Lumiose City. This has many believing that the entire game, or at least the majority of the game, will take place in the bounds of Lumiose City, which I agree. There may be some smaller areas outside of the city's bounds, but the likelihood of us going to different sections of the game, such as Geosinge Town, are not likely. Now, the problem with this is, being that it's only one location for the entire game, may cause the game to get pretty stale. Now, to be fair, the city is pretty large, so the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, whoever, could easily fill the city to the brim with things to do. But, again, it's only one location. We also heard that the city is going through a redevelopment plan, meaning the city itself will be far different from how we remember it being in X and Y, likely having new sections that were not originally there. But then there's still this burning question I have that has yet to be answered. When does this game take place? In the reveal trailer, it starts out with paper pencil sketch of Pikachu running through the city. But then it quickly changes to a more futuristic looking Tron-esque environment with neon lights everywhere and Pikachu running through the city. At the end, we see an aerial shot of the city in the neon style. Then, we see it go back to the sketch blueprint. There's also the fact that in the aerial shot, the plazas of the original Lumiose City look completely different than how they did in the original games, with more open areas of the city with newer designs. One even looks like it has like some sort of waterway, maybe? Very strange. Now we know cities truly never stay the same in the real world, so we can assume that these are just renovations to the plazas that happen in between whenever this game happens and when X and Y happens. But then there's still the question of why these two conflicting styles were used to announce the game. I believe we can find the answer to this conundrum by looking at the title. Legends ZA. Unlike the previous Legends game, this game specifically doesn't use the name of a Pokemon. The naming convention is similar to the original game, being that of letters, with the Z likely representing the Pokemon Zygarde. But there's also the symbolic meaning. Z often means the end, since it's the end of the alphabet, while A often means the beginning of something, since that is the beginning of the alphabet. These letters in this order could possibly mean that we are going from the end of something to the beginning of something. So, with that in mind, my theory for this game is that it'll take place in the future, not this super sci-fi futuristic city, like with flying cars. No, it just takes place at some point after X and Y, with the renovations of the city being a part of some sort of evil plan. Look back at the trailer. Notice when we get into the futuristic neon line style of the trailer, there are cuts and flashes of this new logo we have never seen before. I believe this is the game's evil organization, a group that states they want to help develop Lumiose City into a new age, but hiding the truth of why they want to do this. Maybe they make this fake plan to, air quotes, renovate Lumiose, but the true goal is to bring a whole new age by going back to the beginning, back to zero, from Z to A. Much like Lysander's plan from the original X and Y games, in which he wanted to destroy the world to make a much more beautiful one. This could even parallel how in Legends Arceus, Volo's plan is similar to Cyrus's plan from the original Gen 4 game, to renew this world by using the power of the godly Pokemon. I also believe that Game Freak hinted toward this possibility in the last game with their unique Pokemon. What I mean by this is, in Gen 9, they had Paradox Pokemon. The overall theme of Gen 9 was the past and the future, with Scarlet being based on the past, much like the last ZA game is, and Violet being focused on the future, which I believe hints that ZA will be based in a future time. And I mean, like, come on, this is a completely new logo. And the only thing we know about Kalos's past was when the ultimate weapon fired, and that was all the way in Geosinge Town. It has nothing to do with Lumio City. Maybe the organization could try to replicate the weapon by modifying Lumio's tower in some sort of space laser, and that's why it's in Lumio City specifically. Though I'm pretty sure it'll be hard for them to execute this plan if Clement is still the gym leader of Lumio City at that point. But how do you fit into all of this? Because when we look at the redevelopment plan and look at the website, you just have your adventure in Lumio City. You're not stated to be a part of this new organization. So what is compelling you to be in Lumios? Maybe it's just that you're new to the city and you just want to stay in there. Maybe it's some sort of legendary interference that you can't leave the city or the certain bounds of the city. Or maybe you have some work to do. In Pokemon X and Y, the postgame is entirely about you helping out a detective that's a recurring character in Pokemon named Looker. So possibly, whoever we control in Legends ZA could be a part of this same agency. You could be put on missions by Looker, or even maybe an older Emma from the X and Y postgame. These missions could act similarly to how they do in Legends Arceus, giving you a higher rank each time you complete a mission and allowing you to the rest of the city depending on how many missions you've completed. But I know it's kind of nerdy. This is all lore stuff. A lot of people don't care about this in Pokemon games. There's some that do, but a lot of them don't. What most people want, the more pressing issue, is what Pokemon will be in the new Pokemon game. Now, I'm not going to go over all of them, but in the previous Legends game, we got new forms, evolutions, and even a whole new Pokemon. So the likelihood of this happening again is pretty high. Already confirmed that we have Megas coming back, and that's a no-duh, this is a Kalos game where Megas originate from. But then there's the issue of how many gimmicks or how many things are in the game, because they're going to probably want to add a new, like, legendary of some sort. They're probably going to want to have a couple of new forms, they're probably going to want a couple of new Megas, and they're probably going to want a couple of new evolutions. That's a lot of things. So let's take it one at a time. When you look at the logo of this game, we see a Z with a hexagonal pattern, a clear sign of Zygarde. But we also see an A with a leafy-like pattern at the bottom. The A does look quite similar to the ultimate weapon, but then again, the ultimate weapon is in Geosinge Town. So unless the entire city walked up and moved away from the weapon, the A in the logo likely does not directly represent the ultimate weapon. Now, in Gen 6, each legendary of the trio was represented by a coordinated letter, right? So A could easily represent a new member of this group. It's already theorized that could be a squirrel-adjacent looking Pokemon. Why? Well, each of the main legendaries of XY are based on Norse mythology and the tree Yggdrasil. It is stated that Yggdrasil had many animals surrounding it. On top of Hulk, obviously for Yveltal, 4 deer surrounding it, obviously Xerneas, and then a dragon that burrowed around the roots, obviously Zygarde, since it's a dragon, it's a ground type. But then there's also Ratatoskr. Many of you may know him from the Norse God of War games. A mischievous squirrel that is known for running up and down the tree. So possibly the A in the title could represent a legendary that's based on a squirrel. There are also the starters. Many believe that the starters will be the same from the original games, but with a twist that they're all given new Mega Evolutions. And while I do believe these 3 will get Megas, I don't think they'll be the starters. At least, not our first set. Much like X and Y, I believe we'll get 2 sets of starters. One from the organization we work with, and the other from whoever the current professor of the time is. That second batch of starters is where I believe we'll get the original Kalos starters with their Megas. While the first batch will be like Legend Arceus, being the non-ordinary starters of the region that eventually get regional forms, changing their secondary types, yet following a similar inspiration from their original forms. There are obviously many choices we have for starters, but the ones I believe we're going to get are Snivy, Litten, and Piplup. Snivy has its inspiration in French nobles, obviously. The regional form of Superior could possibly make reference to 3 things: snakes shedding their skin, the French Revolution, and dying plants. Maybe it's a ghost type, where the dried foliage represents snake skin, and the skin could possibly look like a detached head or something, for obvious reason. Piplup is another simple placement. Being based on the French ruler Napoleon, it could have a regional evolution based on his greatest loss, Waterloo. There are many reasons of the cause of this defeat, but one reason many believe is because of the harsh cold that fell upon the armies of the French. This would give the penguin the ice type it kinda deserves. Napoleon could be more cold and distant as a king would, yet also be more ruthless in its fighting style. Now these two are pretty simple and easy, everyone gets it, but this third one takes a little bit more explaining. Litten is obviously a black cat, and his entire line is based on circus acts with cats, with its final evolution also representing pro wrestling, heels, and strongmen in the circus. Now, black cats are pretty common imagery in France and French folklore, so it makes sense for Litten to be the starter. But also, did you know the first modern pro wrestling started in France? Around the years 1845 to 1850, a Frenchman named Jean Exporiat, I think that's Exporiat, a French showman named Jean made the first pro wrestling circus troupe, and is said to be a pioneer of a no grappling below the waist rule, which was eventually called the flat hand wrestling style. So it would actually fit perfectly in this game, based on France, for a French black cat to be the starter. Though I think it might cause a little uproar, because I can't see this Pokemon losing the fighting type for a second time. To visually differentiate this version from the Alolan version, we could lean into the more strongman look, making him wider and overall more beefy with the legs, and take away the wrestling belt. These three also have a common theme of royalty, Snivy being a general French royal, right? Piplup being both a French royal and a French general, and Litten, or more like Incineroar, being the king of the ring. No one?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
To continue on, there's also regional evolutions I would expect from a Legends game. There are hundreds of options, but a couple could be giving Pyroar both its male and female split evolutions. It doesn't matter which one really, but one could be based on the Manticore, a common fan idea, but a very good one, and the other could be something much more French related, this being a Tarrasque. While it's much more known for its D&D counterpart, a Tarrasque is a French beast with the head of a lion, 6 legs, and a shell similar to a turtle. Another evolution could be for a much more overlooked Gen 5 Pokemon, Druddigon. Possibly it could be based on gargoyles, making its already rough skin even rougher, making it a Dragon Rock type, and allowing Game Freak to make it much stronger, like they did Ursaring. There's also Go-Go, a Pokemon synonymous with Kalos. Giving it an evolution to be more rough and tumble would be both cool and expand on the idea that the bicycle turns into the motorcycle that turns into some sort of ATV. We could also get a different evolution to Dusclops that represents the infamous catacombs of France. I even made this right after the announcement. People were speculating that we will have some sort of catacombs area, and this artist on Twitter, Goompy, follow him, thought it would be cool if we had a catacombs-like maze section that housed a Minotaur like Dusclops. So I decided to draw it. We also shouldn't turn a blind eye to the weaker Pokemon like Ariados and Ladian, since recently Game Freak has been giving evolutions to the extremely weak Pokemon like Stantler. Now that I think about it, a majority of them are from Gen 2. Anyways, the final thing I'm going to talk about is the Mega. Obviously, I said before that the Kalos starters are likely to get some Megas. Speaking of Kalos Pokemon, it was criminal that no native Kalos Pokemon got any Megas. So to fix that, this game should definitely give some Kalos Pokemon the love for Megas. Hawlucha. It's a single stage Pokemon that's pretty decent, but severely outclassed most times. So a Mega could fix these issues and bring some justice to an amazing Pokemon. Trevenant is another example of a banger from Kalos that could get an absolutely amazing Mega. I could see Trevenant being able to manipulate its own soul into making different shapes and form. Maybe the base body could even get taller of some sort, to be like a taller tree, more imposing, rather than the small guy that it's normally. We also want to get some more fan favorite megas, especially Flygon, who, mind you, was supposed to get one, but just didn't, and the reason given was just art block. It's been almost like a decade at this point, and Flygon has had no love since. That's crazy. It's gonna be really annoying if Flygon does not get one, but Charizard does. Anyways, there's also the likelihood that we would get new forms for newer Pokemon, such as Capsakid, maybe getting a 3-headed evolution / Mega, or Spidops getting a much more powerful Mega, much like how Beedrill got one. And now, lastly, much like Legends Arceus, the 2 box legendaries of this generation will likely get new form. While I believe they could go with Megas, there is a case for primal reversions instead, making them into the epitome of life and death. It all depends on how the story goes, but it would be really a missed opportunity if they did not give Xerneas and Yveltal some sort of new forms. But hey, that's what I just think. Could be wrong, I could be right, but all I'd like to say is thank you for watching. See you next time.
透明よりも綺麗なの輝きを確かめに行こうそうやって始まったんだよたまに忘れるほど強い理由
Who's that Pokémon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!